Hello guys, welcome to Fictional Vortex. So in this video, we will see what if Naruto possessed the eyes of the Lord and became the ultimate god slayer. Naruto x Brunhil, Record of Ragnarok. If you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to show us some love by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's start the story. Chapter 1, Eyes That See Truth. The war had been over for 6 months, but Naruto couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. He sat atop the Hokage monument, legs dangling over Tsunade's stone face, watching Konoha rebuild itself below. Workers scurried like ants, hammering and lifting, their voices carrying up to him in fragments. The village was healing, but Naruto felt restless. "Thought I'd find you here," Kakashi said, appearing silently beside him. "New mission just came in. Figured you'd want it." Naruto perked up. "Finally. Something good?" "Depends on your definition of good." Kakashi handed him a scroll. Strange reports from the land of demons. People vanishing, unusual weather patterns, the whole supernatural package. Naruto unrolled the scroll, scanning its contents. "This is perfect. When do I leave?" "Tomorrow morning. Take Sakura with you. She's been cooped up in the hospital too long." Naruto nodded, already mentally packing his gear. Maybe this was exactly what he needed, something to break the monotony that had settled over his life since defeating Kaguya. "You're too excited about this," Sakura said as they leapt through the trees. 2 days into their journey, and Naruto's energy hadn't flagged once. "It's just a routine investigation." "Nothing's ever routine in the land of demons," Naruto replied, grinning. "Remember that mission with Cheyenne years ago?" "How could I forget? You practically proposed to her." "I did not." "You promised to help her pass on her powers by having her baby." Naruto nearly missed the next branch. "That was a misunderstanding." Sakura laughed, enjoying his discomfort. "Well, try not to make any more lifetime commitments on this mission." They traveled in comfortable silence after that, covering ground quickly. By nightfall, they reached the border of the land of demons. The atmosphere changed immediately, the air felt heavier, charged with something Naruto couldn't name. "Feel that?" he asked. Sakura nodded, her expression serious. "It's like static before a storm." They made camp in a small clearing, taking turns keeping watch. Naruto volunteered for the first shift, sitting cross-legged near their small fire. The flames cast dancing shadows across the forest floor, and for a moment, he thought he saw shapes moving within them, faces, perhaps, or hands reaching out. He blinked, and they were gone. The village of Riyama sat nestled between steep cliffs, a collection of traditional wooden buildings surrounding a central shrine. As Naruto and Sakura approached, they noticed the unusual quiet. No children playing, no merchants hawking wares, just a few villagers hurrying about their business, heads down. "Not exactly a warm welcome," Sakura muttered. They located the village headman, an elderly man named Morishita, who seemed relieved to see them. "Thank the ancestors you've come," he said, ushering them into his home. "We feared our messages weren't getting through." "What exactly is happening here?" Sakura asked. Morishita poured tea with trembling hands. "It started a month ago. People began having the same dream, a voice calling them to the old ruins in the northern forest. Those who went, never returned." "How many?" Naruto asked. 17 so far. We've forbidden anyone from going near the ruins, but..." He looked down. "Last night, my granddaughter disappeared. She's only 12. Naruto stood up. "Where are these ruins?" "Naruto," Sakura cautioned, "we should gather more information first." "There's a girl out there, Sakura." Morishita nodded. "The young man is right. There's no time to waste." He spread a crude map on the table. "The ruins lie here, about 2 hours north. They're ancient, Older than our village, older than any records we have. What do you know about them? Sakura asked. Very little. They were a temple once, dedicated to a deity whose name has been lost to time. The elders call it the Shrine of Judgment. Naruto studied the map, committing it to memory. We'll leave immediately. Be careful, Morishita warned. There's a reason those ruins were abandoned. The old stories say they're where gods and men once stood as equals. The forest grew denser as they headed north, the canopy blocking out most of the sunlight. Naruto felt the hair on his arms standing up, the air was practically crackling with energy now. Something's definitely not right, he said. I can sense. I don't know, something big. Sakura nodded. My skin's been tingling for the last mile. Whatever's happening, it's putting out an enormous amount of chakra. They pushed forward until the trees suddenly gave way to a clearing. In its center stood what remained of an ancient structure, massive stone columns, half-crumbled walls, and a circular dais raised above the ground. Strange symbols covered every surface, glowing faintly with blue light. Those aren't any characters I recognize, Sakura said, approaching one of the columns. Naruto walked toward the center of the ruins, drawn by something he couldn't explain. The dais featured a large circular depression, like a shallow bowl cut into the stone. Dried blood stained its edges. Recent sacrifices? Sakura wondered, examining the stains. No, came a small voice from behind a fallen pillar. It took them. Naruto spun around. A young girl, presumably Morishita's granddaughter, peered at them with wide, frightened eyes. Hey there, Naruto said gently, crouching down. Your grandfather sent us to find you. Are you okay? The girl nodded hesitantly. I'm Ami. Are you ninjas? We sure are, Naruto smiled. I'm Naruto, and this is Sakura. Want to tell us what happened? Ami crawled out from her hiding place. I had dreams about this place. A voice kept calling me, saying I was special, that I had been chosen. She looked down. But when I got here, I saw it take the others. What took them, Ami? Sakura asked. The god in the stone. Ami pointed to the dais. It comes out at night. It looks like a person made of light, but its eyes. She shuddered. Naruto exchanged glances with Sakura. Let's get you back to the village. We'll come back and investigate further. No. Ami cried, clutching his arm. It'll know. It sees everything. We have to hide. Before Naruto could respond, the ground began to tremble. The symbols on the stones glowed brighter, pulsing like heartbeats. It's coming. Ami shrieked. It's coming now. The center of the dais cracked open, and blinding light poured out. Naruto grabbed Ami and leapt back, shielding her with his body. Sakura took a defensive position, chakra already gathered in her fists. From the light emerged a figure, humanoid but too perfect, too symmetrical to be human. Its skin glowed golden, its features beautiful yet somehow wrong. When it opened its eyes, they shone with the same blue light as the symbols. More offerings, it said, its voice resonating unnaturally. How disappointing. I was hoping for quality over quantity. Who are you? Naruto demanded, setting Ami behind him. The being tilted its head, studying him with disturbing intensity. I am Shiroku, god of discernment. I judge the worthy from the unworthy. It smiled, revealing teeth too white, too straight. These humans have been most generous with their sacrifices, but none have proven adequate. Sacrifices for what? Sakura asked. For ascension, of course. I require a suitable vessel. Naruto stepped forward. Where are the villagers you took? Shiroku waved dismissively. Consumed. Inadequate. Their essence sustains me while I search for the perfect host. You killed them, Naruto growled, anger building inside him. You tricked them and killed them. They served their purpose. As will you. Shiroku's gaze fixed on Naruto, its expression sharpening with interest. You, however, you carry something interesting within you. Two souls intertwined. How fascinating. Naruto felt Kurama stir inside him, the fox's chakra responding to the threat. Let's see how a god handles this, he muttered, drawing on the Ninetales' power. Golden chakra enveloped him, and his eyes shifted to crimson. Shiroku laughed, the sound like breaking glass. Magnificent. A human container with a beast inside. Perhaps you'll be the one. It moved with blinding speed, appearing before Naruto in an instant. Its hand shot out, grabbing him by the throat and lifting him off the ground. Let's have a look inside you, Shiroku purred. Pain lanced through Naruto's body as he felt something invasive probe his mind, rifling through his memories, his emotions. He struggled against the grip, but the being's strength was overwhelming. Naruto! Sakura shouted, charging forward with a chakra-enhanced punch. Shiroku caught her fist without looking, the impact sending shockwaves through the ruins. Patience, little one. Your turn will come. Naruto felt Kurama roaring inside him, fighting against the intrusion. His vision blurred, then sharpened. Suddenly, he could see something beyond Shiroku's beautiful facade, something ancient and parasitic, feeding on fear and worship. You're no god, Naruto managed to say through gritted teeth. You're just a parasite. Shiroku's expression darkened. Blasphemy. I have been worshipped for millennia. Doesn't make you a god. Just makes you a good liar. Enraged, Shiroku slammed Naruto into one of the stone columns. The impact cracked the ancient rock, and Naruto felt ribs break. Blood spattered from his mouth onto the symbols carved into the column. The effect was immediate. The symbols flared with brilliant light where his blood touched them, spreading outward like wildfire. Shiroku dropped him, backing away with sudden caution. What have you done? It hissed. Naruto slumped to the ground, gasping for breath as his accelerated healing began mending his bones. The entire ruins had come alive now, every symbol burning with intensity. The ground trembled more violently, and cracks spread across the dais. Sakura, get Ami out of here. Naruto shouted. Sakura grabbed the terrified girl and leapt clear of the ruins just as a column of light erupted from the central dais, engulfing both Naruto and Shiroku. Within the light, Naruto found himself floating in what seemed like endless space. Before him stood Shiroku, its perfect form now flickering, showing glimpses of something else beneath, something withered and hungry. Impossible, it whispered. The judgment rite was lost ages ago. What's happening? Naruto demanded. You've triggered something ancient, human. Something even I feared. Shiroku's voice had lost its resonance, now sounding thin and frightened. The eyes of the Lord, the power to judge even gods. Pain exploded behind Naruto's eyes, as if something were being carved into them from within. He screamed, clutching his face as knowledge poured into his mind, visions of cosmic conflicts, of beings beyond comprehension battling across realities, of a power granted to humanity as a final safeguard against divine tyranny. No, Shiroku moaned. Not you. Anyone but you. When Naruto opened his eyes again, he saw differently. The world had gained new dimensions, new depths. And Shiroku, he saw the entity for what it truly was, a minor spirit that had fed on worship and sacrifice until it believed its own lies, its form built from stolen life force and false divinity. You've been judging others for centuries, Naruto said, his voice altered, carrying weight it never had before. Time for you to be judged. He reached out, not physically but with some new sense he didn't fully understand, and grasped what seemed to be the core of Shiroku's being. The false god screamed, its perfect form disintegrating to reveal a withered, parasitic creature. Mercy, it shrieked. I am divine. I am eternal. You're neither, Naruto replied. And you've taken enough. With a tearing motion, Naruto pulled the essence apart. Light exploded outward as Shiroku's form collapsed in on itself, releasing the energy and life force it had consumed over centuries. The shock waved through Naruto backward, and darkness claimed him. Naruto! Naruto, wake up! Sakura's voice pulled him back to consciousness. He opened his eyes slowly, wincing at the brightness of the sun overhead. The ruins lay in shambles around them, the stones no longer glowing. What happened? He managed to ask. You tell me. There was this explosion of light, and then I found you lying here. Sakura helped him sit up, her medical training already kicking in as she examined him for injuries. Where's Ami? Safe. I got her clear before everything went crazy. Sakura frowned, peering at his face. Naruto, your eyes. What about them? They're different. Like, really different. He blinked, suddenly aware of the change. His vision was sharper, clearer than it had ever been, but there was something else, a deeper perception that allowed him to see connections. The flow of chakra through living things, yes, but also something more fundamental, like the very fabric of reality. It said something about the eyes of the Lord, Naruto murmured. A power to judge gods. Sakura handed him her small medical mirror. Naruto stared at his reflection in shock. His normally blue eyes now gleamed with an inner light, the irises ringed with symbols similar to those that had covered the ruins. As he watched, the symbols faded, leaving his eyes looking normal again, but he could still feel the power humming beneath the surface. What happened to Shiroku? Sakura asked. I unmade it, I think. Naruto struggled to explain. It wasn't really a god, more like a spirit that got too powerful, feeding on people's worship and fear. And you just, what? Killed it? Not exactly. I judged it. Found it wanting. Naruto shook his head, struggling with concepts he barely understood. I think I released all the energy it had stolen. As if in response to his words, ghostly figures began to appear around them, translucent shapes of the missing villagers, including those taken before Ami. They seemed confused, disoriented. Are they? Sakura whispered. They're spirits, I think. Shiroku didn't completely destroy them. The spirits began to drift upward, fading as they rose. All except one, a middle-aged man who approached Naruto, his expression solemn. Judge, the spirit said, the word echoing strangely. The eye has awakened after so long. What does that mean? Naruto asked. What's happening to me? You bear the mark of humanity's covenant. The final defense against divine overreach. The spirit's form flickered. They will come for you now. The true gods. They will test you, fear you, try to destroy you. Why me? The eye chooses its bearer. Perhaps because of what you already contain. The spirit looked at him knowingly. Be vigilant, judge. Not all who claim divinity deserve destruction, just as not all who seem monstrous are evil. That discernment is your burden now. Before Naruto could ask more questions, the spirit faded away, joining the others in their ascent. This is a lot, Sakura said after a long silence. Naruto nodded, getting to his feet. His body felt different, not stronger exactly, but more attuned, more connected to everything around him. We should get Ami back to the village, he said. They found the girl waiting anxiously at the edge of the clearing. She ran to Naruto as soon as she saw him, throwing her arms around his waist. You saved them, she cried. I saw their spirits going up to the sky. They're at peace now, Naruto assured her, patting her head. As they walked back toward Riyama, Naruto felt a strange tingling at the edge of his awareness, like being watched by many eyes from a great distance. The village celebrated their return with a hastily arranged feast. Families of the missing wept with a mixture of grief and relief when Naruto explained what had happened to their loved ones. He kept the details of his transformation vague, saying only that the false god had been defeated and would trouble them no more. "We're in your debt," Morishita said, bowing deeply. "Generations of our people have lived in fear of the ruins. You've freed us." Naruto smiled uncomfortably, unused to such formal gratitude. "Just doing our job." Later that night, as the celebration continued around them, Sakura pulled Naruto aside. "We need to talk about what happened," she said quietly. "About your eyes. I know. It's just. I don't fully understand it myself. Are you feeling okay? Any side effects, pain, disorientation?" Naruto shook his head. "Actually, I feel great. Like everything's clearer somehow." He hesitated. "But sometimes, when I look at certain people, I see more. Like layers of who they are, what drives them." Sakura frowned. "That sounds intrusive. It's not like mind reading. More like, seeing the truth of things." Naruto sighed. "We should probably tell Kakashi when we get back." "Definitely. This isn't something you can keep secret, Naruto. Especially if what that spirit said is true, about gods coming for you." The thought sent a chill through him. "Yeah, that part's pretty weird." Their conversation was interrupted by a commotion from the village square. People were pointing at the sky, expressions fearful. Naruto looked up to see an aurora-like curtain of light spreading across the night, colors shifting in impossible patterns. "That can't be natural," Sakura murmured. A strange pressure built in the air, like the moment before a lightning strike. Naruto felt his new power stirring in response, his eyes beginning to burn. "Everyone inside," he shouted to the villagers. "Now." The sky tore open like fabric, revealing a swirling vortex of energy. From within it descended a figure, a woman of breathtaking beauty, her long silver hair flowing around her as if underwater. She wore armor of an unfamiliar design, elegant and deadly, and carried a spear that seemed to shift forms subtly as she moved. She landed gracefully in the center of the square, her eyes immediately finding Naruto. "So," she said, her voice musical yet commanding, "you're the new judge." Naruto stepped forward, positioning himself between her and the villagers. "Who are you?" The woman smiled, twirling her spear casually. "I am Brunhil, eldest of the Valkyrie sisters. And you, Naruto Uzumaki, have just made the divine realms very, very nervous." Naruto's eyes widened in surprise. "How do you know my name?" "Oh, we've been watching you for some time. Even before you acquired the eyes." Brunhild studied him with frank curiosity. "You've had quite the interesting life for a mortal. Container of a tailed beast, child of prophecy, war hero, and now, god slayer." "I didn't slay a god. Shiroku was just pretending to be one." Brunhild laughed, the sound like bells. "True enough. A minor spirit with delusions of grandeur. Hardly a true deity. But the eyes don't distinguish based on power alone, they judge worthiness. That's what makes them so dangerous to the divine order." Sakura moved to stand beside Naruto. "Are you here to fight him?" "Fight him? Heavens, no." Brunhild's expression turned serious. "I'm here to recruit him. We're on the brink of Ragnarok, the final battle between gods and humans. And we need a champion who can actually win." "Ragnarok?" Naruto repeated. "Like, the end of the world. More like a cosmic tournament. Gods versus humanity's greatest champions. The stakes. The continued existence of mankind." Brunhild stepped closer, her eyes boring into his. "The gods have grown arrogant, Naruto Uzumaki. They see humans as little more than playthings. Some have even called for your extinction, claiming you've grown too destructive, too ambitious. And you're what, looking for fighters?" Sakura asked skeptically. Not just fighters. Heroes who can stand against divinity itself. Brunhild's gaze never left Naruto. With the eyes of the Lord, you might be exactly what we need. Naruto felt the weight of her words. Why should I trust you? You shouldn't, not completely. Trust those eyes of yours instead. Brunhild spread her arms. Look at me, Judge. See my truth. Naruto hesitated, then allowed the power to rise within him. His vision shifted, the world gaining that extra dimension he was still getting used to. Looking at Brunhild, he saw layers of existence, her physical form, yes, but also an ancient spirit of battle, proud and fierce. He saw grief, determination, and a burning desire for justice that matched his own. Most importantly, he saw truth in her words about the coming conflict. You're really a Valkyrie, he said finally. And this Ragnarok thing is real. As real as the ground beneath your feet. Brunhild nodded approvingly. The eyes serve you well already. Most new judges take years to develop such clarity. What exactly do you want from me? Your participation, when the time comes. But first, your training. Brunhild gestured at the tear in the sky. Other realms are watching, Naruto. Word of a new judge will spread quickly. Some will come to test you, others to destroy you before you reach your potential. As if summoned by her words, a tremor ran through the ground. In the distance, at the edge of the village, trees toppled as something massive approached. Right on schedule, Brunhild murmured. Your first real test arrives. The creature that emerged from the forest stood nearly 30 feet tall, with the body of a man but the head of a snarling wolf. Its skin gleamed like metal in the moonlight, and each step left smoldering footprints in the earth. Fenrir's spawn, Brunhild said with distaste. A minor divinity, but dangerous enough. The gods are testing your mettle. Villagers screamed and ran for cover as the wolf-headed giant howled, the sound shattering windows throughout Riyama. I am Garm, hound of the underworld, it roared. Surrender the judge or watch this village burn. Naruto clenched his fists. Not happening. Brunhild stepped forward, her spear elongating. Shall we see how well you work with a Valkyrie, God Slayer? For the first time since acquiring his new power, Naruto grinned with genuine excitement. Let's do this. He summoned his shadow clones, a dozen duplicates popping into existence around him. Garma seemed momentarily confused by the multiplication, giving Naruto the opening he needed. Sakura, get the villagers to safety, he shouted, then charged forward with his clones. Garma swung a massive fist, dispelling 3 clones instantly. The others scattered, pelting the giant with kunai and shuriken that barely penetrated its metallic skin. Physical weapons will have limited effect, Brunhild called out, leaping. Impossibly high to strike at Garma's face. Her spear left a glowing gash across its muzzle, drawing a howl of pain. Divine flesh requires divine weapons, or chakra infused with intent. Naruto understood immediately. He gathered natural energy, entering sage mode to complement his new eyes. The combination sent power surging through him like never before, the world becoming even clearer, connections more visible. He could see Garma's essence now, a divine spark wrapped in hatred and bloodlust. Not truly evil, perhaps, but dangerous and unthinking in its loyalty to whoever had sent it. Naruto created a Rasengan, but instead of the usual blue sphere, this one glowed with golden light, symbols similar to those in his eyes swirling within it. Let's try this, he shouted, charging directly at the giant. Garma brought both fists down, cratering the earth where Naruto had been a split second before. Using his clones as stepping stones, Naruto vaulted upward, Rasengan held before him like a lance. Divine Judgment, Rasengan. The impact against Garma's chest created a blast of light visible for miles. The giant howled as the attack bored through its metallic skin, exposing a core of swirling energy beneath. The heart. Brunhild shouted, diving toward the exposed core. Strike the divine core. She transformed mid-air, her spear becoming a gleaming sword. Together, she and Naruto plunged their weapons into the pulsing core of Garma's being. The giant froze, its howl cutting off abruptly. Cracks of golden light spread across its body from the point of impact. It looked down at Naruto, wolf eyes widening in what might have been respect. "Judge," it growled. "We will meet again, in Ragnarok." Garma's body collapsed into motes of light, swirling upward to disappear into the tear in the sky. The rift sealed itself with a sound like thunder, leaving normal stars twinkling overhead. Naruto landed beside Brunhil, breathing hard. Did we kill it? No. Merely send it back to its realm. Brunhild rested her weapon on her shoulder, studying him with newfound interest. You adapted quickly to fighting a divine being. Most new judges would have been overwhelmed. I'm a fast learner. Naruto grinned, then winced as fatigue hit him suddenly. His knees buckled, and Brunhild caught him before he could fall. The eyes take a toll, especially at first, she explained. You'll need to build up your stamina for using them. Sakura rushed over, medical chakra already glowing around her hands. Naruto. Are you okay? Just tired, he assured her. Really, really tired. Brunhild helped him sit on a nearby bench. Your friend will recover quickly. His life force is exceptional. Thanks to Kurama, Naruto murmured. The fox spirit within you? Brunhild nodded. A fortunate partnership. It likely helped you survive the awakening of the eyes. Most humans would have been consumed by the influx of power. Sakura finished her examination, looking troubled. His chakra network has been altered. There are new pathways I've never seen before. The eyes create their own systems, Brunhild explained. They're changing him, adapting his body to channel divine judgment. Is that dangerous? Sakura asked. All power is dangerous, especially power meant to challenge gods. Brunhild's expression softened slightly. But if anyone can handle it, it's your friend here. The eyes choose worthy vessels. Naruto looked up at the Valkyrie. So what happens now? Now. You rest and recover. Tomorrow, we begin your training. She glanced at Sakura. Both of you should return to your village. Konoha, yes. Explain what's happened to your leaders. They need to be prepared. Prepared for what? Sakura asked. Divine attention. Brunhild's expression turned grim. The gods know of Naruto now. Some will seek to test him, others to destroy him. Your village must be ready. Naruto nodded slowly. We'll leave at first light. The journey back to Konoha was tense, with Brunhild accompanying them like a beautiful, deadly shadow. She moved with inhuman grace, seemingly tireless, and spent the nights telling Naruto about the divine realms and the coming Ragnarok. The tournament was established eons ago, she explained as they camped in a forest clearing. A last resort when the gods considered wiping out humanity entirely. One final chance for mortals to prove their worth. By fighting gods? Sakura asked, stoking their small fire. Exactly. 13 battles, gods versus human champions. If humanity wins the majority, they earn the right to continue existing. That's messed up, Naruto said. Why should we have to fight for the right to live? Brunhild smiled thinly. Now you understand why I've been searching for champions like you. The gods have grown complacent, viewing humans as little more than amusing pets at best, vermin at worst. And the eyes of the Lord? Where do they fit in? They're a wild card. A power the gods themselves created, ironically, to judge their own. A check against tyranny within the divine realms. Brunhild's expression darkened. They never expected a human would inherit them. When the first judge appeared millennia ago, the gods nearly started a civil war over whether to allow it. What happened to this first judge? Sakura asked. He died fighting to protect humanity from divine wrath. As did most who inherited the eyes after him. Brunhild's gaze fixed on Naruto. The eyes seek worthy souls, those with both the power and compassion to judge fairly. They've chosen you, Naruto Uzumaki, at the most crucial moment in cosmic history. Naruto absorbed this in silence, watching the flames dance. Finally, he asked, "Can I refuse? Just, not use this power? The eyes are part of you now. You can no more refuse them than you could refuse to breathe." Brunhild's voice softened. "But how you use them, that remains your choice." The conversation lapsed into silence after that, each lost in their own thoughts. As Naruto took the first watch, he noticed Brunhild studying him curiously. "Something wrong?" he asked. "Not wrong. Intriguing." She tilted her head. "Most humans would be overwhelmed by what's happened to you. Yet you seem adaptable." Naruto chuckled. "I've had a weird life. Finding out I've got God-judging eyes isn't even the strangest thing that's happened to me." "Tell me." So he did. As the night deepened around them, Naruto told her about growing up with Kurama sealed inside him, about the Akatsuki, about Pain and Jiraiya and Sasuke. He told her about the war, about meeting the Sage of Six Paths, about the battle with Kaguya. Brunhild listened intently, occasionally asking questions. When he finished, she nodded thoughtfully. "Now I understand why the eyes chose you. You've already faced beings of near-divine power. You've judged them, in your way. Shown mercy where warranted, strength where needed. I just did what felt right. That, Naruto Uzumaki, is precisely what makes you dangerous to the gods." Brunhild smiled, a genuine warmth in her expression for the first time. "You follow your own moral compass, not rules handed down from above. That independence, that humanity, is what the divine fear most." The conversation stayed with Naruto as they continued their journey. By the third day, they were approaching Konoha's borders. That's when they sensed another presence, familiar to Naruto, but unexpected. "Someone's following us," Brunhild said, hand moving to her weapon. "It's okay," Naruto assured her. "He's a friend." Sasuke Uchiha stepped out from the shadow of a large oak tree, his expression as inscrutable as ever. "Naruto." "Sakura." His mismatched eyes fixed on Brunhild. "And a visitor from another realm, it seems." "Sasuke." Sakura exclaimed. "What are you doing here?" "I felt a disturbance. Something cosmic." Sasuke studied Naruto intently. "It led me to you. You've changed." "Yeah, it's a long story." Naruto rubbed the back of his neck. "Basically, I've got these new eyes, the eyes of the Lord," Sasuke finished for him. "I've read about them in ancient Uchiha scrolls. They were considered a myth." Brunhild raised an eyebrow. "Your clan knew of the eyes?" "The Uchiha have always been interested in ocular powers." Sasuke's hand rested on his sword hilt. "The scrolls warned that their awakening heralded cosmic upheaval." "Well, you're not wrong," Naruto sighed. "Apparently there's this tournament called Ragnarok where gods fight humans, and now I'm supposed to be humanity's champion or something." Sasuke absorbed this without visible reaction, then turned to Brunhild. "You're not human." "Valkyrie," she replied with a slight bow. "Brunhild, eldest of the sisters." "Hn." Sasuke returned his attention to Naruto. "Your eyes. Show me." Naruto nodded, allowing his power to rise. His eyes transformed, the symbols appearing around his irises, glowing with inner light. Sasuke activated his Sharingan and Rinnegan in response, studying Naruto's eyes with intensity. "Interesting. They're unlike any dojutsu I've encountered. Not chakra-based, at least not entirely. They draw from something deeper," Brunhild confirmed. "The fundamental forces that shape reality itself." Sasuke nodded, as if this confirmed something. Konoha needs to know about this. Especially since we've detected unusual chakra signatures approaching from the north. Powerful ones, unlike anything in our records. Naruto and Brunhil exchanged glances. More divine visitors, she said grimly. We need to hurry, Naruto decided. If gods are heading for Konoha, we need to be there. They increased their pace, Sasuke joining them without further discussion. As they traveled, Naruto felt a growing unease. His new senses were picking up something. A presence vast and ancient, watching from somewhere beyond normal reality. By nightfall, they could see Konoha's walls in the distance. But as they approached, the sky above the village began to shimmer with the same aurora-like effect Naruto had seen in Riyama. We're too late, Brunhild murmured. They're already here. The four of them raced toward the village gates, where ninja were gathering, looking upward in confusion and alarm. Kakashi stood at the front, his normally laid-back posture tense as he studied the phenomenon. Kakashi-sensei. Naruto called out. We need to evacuate the civilians. Kakashi turned, his visible eye widening at the sight of Brunhild. Naruto. What's happening? Before Naruto could answer, a beam of light shot down from the center of the aurora, striking the ground in front of Konoha's gates. When it faded, a man stood there, tall and regal, with a flowing white beard and eyes like polished silver. He wore armor that seemed made of constellations, and a crown of what looked like pure starlight. I am Odin, All-Father. Ruler of Asgard, the figure announced, his voice resonating with power. I seek the mortal who has claimed the eyes of judgment. Brunhild stepped forward, bowing deeply. All-Father. This is unexpected. Brunhild. Odin's expression was stern. You overstep your bounds, daughter of Valkyries. The judge is not yours to claim. I claimed nothing, my lord. I merely offered guidance to one who has inherited a great responsibility. Odin turned his attention to Naruto. So. You are the new judge. Younger than most who have borne the burden. He studied Naruto with those silver eyes. Show me the eyes, mortal. Naruto hesitated, looking to Brunhild, who nodded slightly. Taking a deep breath, he activated his power, meeting Odin's gaze directly. For a moment that stretched into eternity, God and human stared at each other. Naruto could see beyond Odin's majestic appearance, could see the complex layers of his being, the weight of eons of existence, the wisdom and the arrogance intertwined. Interesting, Odin said finally. You see clearly for one so young. What do you want? Naruto asked, his voice steadier than he expected. To assess the new judge. To understand what manner of mortal now holds the power to challenge divinity. Odin's expression remained unreadable. Ragnarok approaches, Naruto Uzumaki. The final confrontation between gods and men draws near. Which side will you stand on? The side that deserves to win, Naruto replied. I'll judge fairly. Odin laughed, the sound like distant thunder. Bold words. But can you back them up? He raised a hand, and the sky darkened further. Perhaps a demonstration is in order. All-Father, Brunhild protested, he's not ready for silence, Valkyrie. This is between the judge and myself. Power gathered around Odin's upraised hand, coalescing into a sphere of energy that pulsed with cold light. Naruto felt Kurama stirring within him, the fox's chakra rising in response to the threat. Defend yourself, Judge, Odin commanded, and hurled the sphere directly at Naruto. Time seemed to slow. Naruto saw the attack coming, not just physically, but on multiple levels of existence. He saw how it would disrupt his chakra network, how it would tear at the fabric of his being. And he saw, with perfect clarity, how to counter it. Drawing on both Kurama's chakra and his new power, Naruto extended his hand. The eyes of the Lord blazed as he shaped his energy into a perfect counter-frequency to Odin's attack. When the two forces met, they didn't explode, they simply cancelled each other out, dissolving into motes of light that drifted away like snow. Odin's expression shifted slightly, surprise, perhaps, or approval. Well done, young judge. Naruto remained in a defensive stance. Was that really necessary? Entirely. Odin lowered his hand. I needed to see how the eyes manifest in you specifically. Each judge wields them differently. He turned to address the gathered Konoha ninja. People of the Hidden Leaf. Your comrade has been chosen for a cosmic role. He will need your support in the days to come. What exactly is happening here? Kakashi asked, stepping forward cautiously. Your world is about to become a battlefield, Kakashi Hatake. Gods and champions will clash to determine humanity's fate. Odin's gaze swept the assembled ninjas. The judge traditionally stands apart from such conflicts, serving as arbiter rather than combatant. But these are unusual times. He returned his attention to Naruto. The other pantheons will send their own representatives to test you. Some will be hostile. Be prepared. Why tell me this? Naruto asked. Aren't you on the god side? Odin's lips curved in a slight smile. I am old enough to value balance above victory, young judge. The eyes exist for a reason, even if some of my kin have forgotten that reason. He inclined his head toward Brunhil. My daughter has chosen wisely in seeking you out. Brunhil looked startled. Father, we will speak later, Odin cut her off. He focused once more on Naruto. Until we meet again, judge. Remember that power and wisdom are not the same thing. With those words, Odin vanished in another beam of light. The aurora above Konoha faded gradually, leaving normal night sky in its wake. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Kakashi cleared his throat. So, he said dryly, I take it your mission didn't go exactly as planned? Naruto let out a nervous laugh. You could say that. Kakashi surveyed the assembled group, Naruto with his new eyes, Sasuke standing vigilant at his side, Sakura looking worried but determined, and Brunhilde, the otherworldly Valkyrie who had introduced them to cosmic conflict. I think, Kakashi said with a sigh, we'd better inform Lady Tsunade immediately. Preferably with a lot of sake on hand. Naruto nodded, feeling the weight of what was to come. The eyes of the Lord had chosen him for a reason, thrusting him into a conflict beyond anything he'd imagined. But as he looked at his friends, at his village, he felt a familiar determination rising within him. Gods or no gods, he would protect what mattered. He would judge fairly. And if necessary, he would fight. The first test had come and gone. But Naruto knew, with bone-deep certainty, that it was only the beginning. Chapter 2, Divine Challenger. Tsunade's fist slammed into her desk, cracking the wood and sending sake bottles toppling. Let me get this straight. You went on a simple investigation mission, and now you're telling me you've got the eyes of some cosmic judge, gods are targeting our village, and we're in the middle of a divine tournament that decides humanity's fate? Naruto shifted uncomfortably under her glare. Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. They stood in the Hokage's office, Naruto, Sakura, Sasuke, Kakashi, and Brunhilde. Dawn light streamed through the windows, painting the room gold. Outside, Konoha was waking up, unaware of the cosmic shift that had occurred. Tsunade turned to Brunhilde, eyes narrowed. And you are? Brunhilde, first of the Valkyrie sisters, she replied, meeting Tsunade's gaze without flinching. Daughter of Odin, chooser of the slain, and guide to humanity's champions. And why exactly should I trust you? You shouldn't, Brunhilde said simply. Trust Naruto instead. His eyes see truth. Tsunade sighed heavily, rubbing her temples. Naruto? He nodded, activating his power briefly. The symbols appeared around his irises, glowing softly. She's telling the truth, Granny. About everything. Don't call me, Tsunade started, then waved it away. Fine. So what happens now? Naruto needs training, Brunhild said. The eyes are powerful but dangerous if not properly controlled. And we need to prepare for further divine incursions. They'll come here? Kakashi asked, his visible eyes serious. Without question. The awakening of a new judge is a significant event in the divine realms. Some will come out of curiosity, others with hostile intent. Brunhild's expression darkened. Odin's appearance was surprisingly diplomatic. Not all gods will be so restrained. Tsunade downed her sake in one gulp. Perfect. As if we hadn't just finished rebuilding from the last war. This isn't your war, Lady Tsunade, Brunhild said. It's a cosmic conflict that's been brewing for millennia. But your village happens to be home to the newest judge, which places you at the center of events whether you wish it or not. Tsunade fixed Naruto with a stern look. And you? Are you prepared for this responsibility? Naruto straightened his shoulders. I don't know everything these eyes can do yet, but I know they chose me for a reason. I won't let Konoha down. I won't let humanity down. Something in his voice, a new certainty, perhaps, made Tsunade's expression soften slightly. You've grown up, brat. She turned to address the others. This stays classified for now. I'll inform the council, but I don't want the village panicking about divine judgment. A wise precaution, Brunhild agreed. Though secrecy won't last long. Divine visitations tend to be noticeable. Then we'll deal with that when it happens. Tsunade stood, her decision made. Naruto, you'll train with Brunhild. Kakashi will oversee and report back to me. Sakura, I need you to research anything in our archives about these eyes or Ragnarok. Sasuke, I'll stay, Sasuke said, surprising everyone. At least until we understand what we're dealing with. Tsunade raised an eyebrow but nodded. Good. You're all dismissed. Except you, Naruto. A word. The others filed out, though Brunhild hesitated at the door. I'll await you at the training grounds, she told Naruto before leaving. When they were alone, Tsunade studied him with concern. Are you really okay with this? It sounds like you've been drafted into a cosmic conflict without much say in the matter. Naruto shrugged. Not the first time something's been forced on me. He touched his stomach where the Nine-Tails seal lay. But like with Kurama, I'll make it my own. Use this power to protect people. These gods, they're not like Pain or Madara. They're not even like Kagaya. From what Brunhild describes, they're fundamental forces of reality. I know. Naruto looked down at his hands, then back up at Tsunade with determination. But that's exactly why someone needs to judge them fairly. If they've got the power to wipe out humanity on a whim, someone has to stand up and say that's not right. Tsunade's expression softened into something like pride. Just, be careful, Naruto. I've already lost too many people I care about. I'll be careful. Promise. Tsunade nodded, then smiled wryly. Now get out of here. Go learn how to use those fancy eyes of yours. The training ground was empty when Naruto arrived, mist still clinging to the grass in the early morning light. Brunhild stood in the center, her armor gleaming despite the dim conditions. Her spear was planted in the ground beside her, thrumming with energy. There you are, she said as he approached. Ready to begin? What exactly am I learning? Control, first and foremost. Brunhild circled him slowly, assessing. The eyes respond to emotion and intent. Uncontrolled, they could cause significant damage, to others and to yourself. Like when I first got Kurama's chakra, Naruto mused. Precisely. Raw power without direction is merely destruction. She stopped in front of him. Activate them. Naruto closed his eyes, focusing on the energy he now felt constantly humming beneath his skin. When he opened them again, the symbols glowed around his irises. Good, Brunhild nodded. Now, look at me, really look. Tell me what you see. Naruto focused on the Valkyrie, allowing his vision to shift beyond the physical. Layers of her existence became visible to him, her physical form, the divine energy that powered it, and something deeper still. You're old, he said slowly. Like, really old. Thousands of years. But also, sad. He tilted his head, confused by what he was seeing. There's something driving you. Not just duty. Something personal. Brunhild's expression tightened. Enough. Sorry, I didn't mean to. No, you did exactly as instructed. She folded her arms. The eyes allow you to see truth, not just factual truth, but deeper realities. The essence of beings, their motives, their nature. That seems invasive. It is. Which is why judges must develop ethics along with power. Brunhild's voice softened slightly. Not everything you can see should be spoken. Not every truth needs exposure. Naruto nodded, understanding. It's like having Ino's mind jutsu on all the time. More powerful, and more dangerous. Brunhild picked up her spear. Now, let's see how the eyes enhance your combat abilities. Without warning, she attacked, the spear blurring as it thrust toward his chest. Naruto leapt back, barely avoiding the strike. Hey! A little warning next time. Gods won't warn you before they attack, Brunhild replied, already moving for another strike. The eyes should give you enhanced perception. Use it. As she came at him again, Naruto focused through his new vision. Suddenly, her movements seemed slower, more predictable. He could see not just her physical actions, but the flow of divine energy directing them, the intention behind each strike. He dodged the next 3 attacks with unexpected grace, moving just enough to avoid the spear's point. Better, Brunhild acknowledged. Now, counter. Naruto created a shadow clone and began forming a Rasengan. Like before, the swirling chakra took on a golden hue, symbols matching his eyes appearing within it. Divine judgment, Rasengan, he shouted, driving the attack forward. Brunhild met it with her spear, and the resulting collision sent shockwaves across the training ground. Trees bent from the force, and the ground beneath them cracked in a spiderweb pattern. When the light faded, they stood facing each other, neither having given ground. Impressive, Brunhild said, lowering her weapon. Your natural abilities complement the eyes well. Naruto let his Rasengan dissipate. It feels different. More focused, somehow. The eyes direct your chakra with perfect precision. No wasted energy. She planted her spear again. But that's just the beginning. The true power of the eyes lies in judgment itself. What does that mean exactly? It means you can perceive the worthiness of divine beings, and if found wanting, you can unmake them, as you did with Shiroku. Naruto frowned. Unmake? You mean kill? Not exactly. Gods cannot truly die in the way mortals understand death. Their essence returns to the primordial forces from which they formed. Brunhild's expression turned serious. But you can end their current existence, strip them of power, even rewrite their fundamental nature if your judgment is sound. That's a lot of power for one person to have. Hence why the eyes choose their bearers carefully. Brunhild smiled slightly. They chose you, Naruto Uzumaki, because you understand power doesn't make one righteous. Their training continued through the morning, with Brunhild pushing Naruto to explore different aspects of his new abilities. He learned to focus the eye's power into his existing techniques, transforming familiar jutsu into weapons capable of affecting divine beings. By midday, they had drawn an audience. Kakashi watched from beneath a nearby tree, seemingly casual but missing nothing. Sasuke observed silently from the shadows, his own Dojutsu active as he studied the interactions of Naruto's new power. And at the edge of the training ground, a group of Naruto's friends had gathered, Shikamaru, Kiba, Hinata, and others, curious about rumors of his return with a strange visitor. I think that's enough for today, Brunhild said. Finally, noting Naruto's fatigue. The eyes drain your energy until you build up tolerance. Naruto nodded, letting the power recede. His normal blue eyes returned as he stretched tired muscles. This is harder than sage training. You're adapting remarkably quickly, Brunhild assured him. Most new judges take months to achieve what you've managed in hours. They walked toward the edge of the training ground where his friends waited. Naruto could feel their curiosity and concern radiating like heat. Naruto. Kiba called out first. What the hell, man? We hear you got back last night with some crazy story about gods and a hot warrior chick. Brunhild raised an eyebrow at the description but said nothing. Naruto laughed awkwardly. Yeah, it's been a weird few days. Hinata stepped forward, her pale eyes searching his face. Naruto-kun, are you okay? We heard you were involved in some kind of battle at the gates. I'm fine, Hinata, really. He smiled reassuringly. Just, dealing with some new developments. Shikamaru's sharp gaze shifted between Naruto and Brunhild. New developments involving divine beings, from what I hear. Troublesome. That's one word for it, Naruto agreed. Is it true? Ino asked, eyes wide. That you've got some special eyes now? Like Sasuke's? Before Naruto could answer, a deep rumble shook the ground beneath them. Birds took flight from nearby trees, cawing in alarm. What was that? Kiba asked, Akamaru growling beside him. Another tremor, stronger this time. In the distance, shouts of alarm rose from the village. Brunhild's expression hardened as she grabbed her spear. It's starting already. What is? Naruto demanded. Divine incursion. Something's breaking through from another realm. She pointed toward the Hokage monument, where the air seemed to be rippling like heat waves. There. A tear is forming. Kakashi appeared beside them, alert and ready. Naruto. On it, he nodded, activating the eyes again. The symbols flared around his irises as he studied the disturbance. I can see it, a rift between worlds. Something's coming through. As they watched, the air split open in a jagged line, golden light pouring through the crack. The tear widened, revealing a swirling vortex beyond. And through it stepped three figures, humanoid but clearly not human. The first was massive, easily 8 feet tall, with crimson skin and 4 arms, each holding a different weapon. The second was slender and elegant, with blue-tinted skin and eyes that shone like stars. The third was child-sized but radiated the most power, ancient eyes in a youthful face, wearing robes that seemed woven from pure light. Hindu deities, Brunhild murmured. Kali, Shiva, and Ganesha. Are they hostile? Kakashi asked quietly. Uncertain. The Hindu pantheon is complex. They contain multitudes. The gods surveyed Konoha from their elevated position, then vanished in blurs of movement. They reappeared directly in the training ground, standing before the assembled ninjas. So this is the new judge, the childlike god said, his voice incongruously deep and mature. Interesting choice. Naruto stepped forward, standing between his friends and the deities. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. What do you want with Konoha? The four-armed goddess laughed, the sound like breaking glass. The village matters not, young one. We've come for you. Kali, Brunhild said, her voice carefully neutral. Shiva. Lord Ganesha. An unexpected honor. Brunhild, the blue-skinned god acknowledged. Still interfering in cosmic affairs, I see. Still fulfilling my purpose, she replied coolly. The child god, Ganesha, stepped closer to Naruto, studying him with ancient eyes. The eyes of the Lord have not awakened in over a millennium. Their appearance now, on the eve of Ragnarok, cannot be coincidence. What do you mean? Naruto asked. He means, Kali said, twirling a curved blade casually, that someone has stacked the deck. The question is who, and why. Shiva raised a hand, silencing her. We've come to assess the judge, not speculate on cosmic politics. His gaze fixed on Naruto. Show us the eyes, young one. Let us see what has the heavens in such disarray. Naruto hesitated, glancing at Brunhil, who nodded slightly. Taking a deep breath, he allowed his power to fully manifest. The symbols glowed brightly around his irises, and golden light seemed to emanate from him. The three gods studied him silently for a long moment. Then Ganesha smiled. Yes, the eyes have truly awakened in him. And more, they've bonded with his existing power. He turned to his companions. The fox spirit within him, the sage energy he wields, they've created a unique manifestation. Is that good or bad? Kakashi asked. That depends entirely on your perspective, Kali replied with a predatory smile. For the corrupt among the divine, it's very bad indeed. Shiva stepped forward, extending a hand toward Naruto. May I? Again, Naruto looked to Brunhil, who nodded more firmly this time. It's a test, she explained. Allow it. Naruto nodded his consent, and Shiva placed a blue-skinned hand on his forehead. Immediately, Naruto felt the god's consciousness brush against his own, not invasive like Shiroku had been, but curious, examining. After a moment, Shiva withdrew his hand, looking thoughtful. Your heart is true, Naruto Uzumaki. Your intentions pure. His expression turned grave. But intention is not everything. The path of the judge is fraught with complexity and challenge. Which is why we've brought a gift, Ganesha said, approaching now. Or rather, return something that belongs to the office of the judge. From his robes, the elephant-headed god produced a small object, a crystal pendant on a silver chain. It glowed with an inner light similar to Naruto's eyes. The tear of judgment, Brunhil breathed, looking surprised. I thought it was lost. Merely safeguarded, Ganesha corrected, holding it out to Naruto. This has belonged to every judge since the first. It will help you focus your power, prevent it from consuming you in moments of strong emotion. Naruto accepted the pendant cautiously. As soon as his fingers touched it, the crystal flared brightly, responding to his energy. He slipped it over his head, and immediately felt his power stabilize, becoming easier to control. Thank you, he said sincerely. Don't thank us yet, Kali warned, her multiple arms crossing. We've done you no favors. The pendant makes you more effective, and thus a greater threat to those who would abuse divine privilege. What she means, Shiva clarified, is that you've just become an even bigger target. Naruto nodded, understanding. I can handle it. We shall see. Ganesha's ancient eyes studied him one last time. The Hindu pantheon will take no direct stance in Ragnarok, Judge Uzumaki. We observe, we balance. But know this, not all who claim divinity deserve worship, and not all who appear monstrous are evil. That sounds familiar, Naruto said, remembering the spirit's words from Riyama. Truth often echoes across realms, Ganesha replied with a slight smile. We will be watching your progress with great interest. The three gods stepped back, preparing to depart. But Kali paused, her expression turning serious. A warning, young judge. Zeus has taken personal interest in your awakening. He fears what you represent. And what's that? Naruto asked. Change, she replied simply. The old order fears change above all else. With those words, the three deities vanished in flashes of light, leaving the training ground unchanged but for the pendant now hanging around Naruto's neck. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Shikamaru sighed heavily. This is way beyond troublesome, he muttered. It's apocalyptic. News of the divine visitation spread through Konoha like wildfire. By evening, the entire village was buzzing with rumors, some accurate, many wildly exaggerated. Tsunade called an emergency council meeting, while ANBU patrols were doubled around the village perimeter. Naruto sat atop the fourth Hokage's stone head, watching the sunset paint Konoha in shades of orange and gold. The crystal pendant hummed softly against his chest, its energy in harmony with his own. "Mind if I join you?" Sakura asked, appearing behind him. "Course not," he replied, scooting over to make room. She sat beside him, her legs dangling over the edge as his were. For a while, they just watched the village in comfortable silence. "Found anything in the archives?" Naruto eventually asked. "Not much," Sakura admitted. "A few vague references to divine judgment, one mention of eyes that see the truth of gods. Nothing specific." She glanced at him sideways. "How are you holding up?" Naruto shrugged. "It's a lot to take in. But I've had practice with unexpected power-ups. This seems different, though." Sakura hugged her knees to her chest. "Gods, Naruto. Actual gods. I know. Crazy, right?" He fingered the pendant thoughtfully. "But you know what's weirder? They don't seem that different from us. They've got the same flaws, pride, fear, jealousy. Just with cosmic power behind them. That's what scares me," Sakura admitted. "Humans with too much power already nearly destroyed the world. What happens when gods decide they want us gone? That's why the eyes exist, I guess." Naruto looked down at his hands. "To keep things balanced." They lapsed into silence again until Sakura spoke softly, "I saw how that Valkyrie looks at you." "Brunhild? What do you mean?" "She's interested in you. Not just as the judge or whatever. As Naruto." He blinked in surprise. "What? No way. She's like, thousands of years old. And a Valkyrie." Sakura rolled her eyes. "Doesn't mean she can't be attracted to you, idiot. Just, be careful, okay? She has her own agenda in all this." "I know," Naruto assured her. "The eyes let me see that much. She's fighting for humanity, but there's something personal driving her too. Something she's not talking about." The sound of footsteps made them both turn. Sasuke approached, his expression as unreadable as ever. "Tsunade's called for you," he told Naruto. "Council wants to speak with you and the Valkyrie." Naruto nodded, getting to his feet. This should be fun. The council chamber was packed when Naruto arrived with Brunhild at his side. Clan heads, ANBU commanders, and civilian representatives sat in tense silence as they entered. Tsunade gestured for them to take the center position. "For those who haven't been briefed," she began, "I'll keep this simple. Naruto Uzumaki has awakened an ancient power known as the Eyes of the Lord, a power that allows him to perceive and judge divine beings. As a result, Konoha has become the focus of cosmic attention." Murmurs swept through the room. Hamura Mitokado, one of the village elders, leaned forward with a frown. "This power, is it a threat to the village?" "No," Naruto answered firmly. "It's a responsibility. One I didn't ask for, but one I'll take seriously. The judge serves all of humanity," Brunhild added. "Not just one village." "And who exactly are you?" Koharu Utatane demanded. "Brunhild, first of the Valkyries, daughter of Odin Allfather." Her voice carried a weight of authority that silenced the room. "I guide humanity's champions in the eternal struggle against divine overreach." "What does that mean for Konoha?" Shikaku Nara asked pragmatically. "Are we now a target for these gods?" "Yes," Brunhild answered bluntly. "The eyes of the Lord represent a check on divine power. Some gods fear and resent that check. Then perhaps," Danzo Shimura suggested from his corner, "we should consider whether hosting such a power is in the village's best interest." Naruto felt several eyes turn to him, evaluating, calculating. The old war hawk's implication was clear: if Naruto's presence endangered Konoha, perhaps he should leave. Before he could respond, Tsunade slammed her hand on the table. Naruto is a shinobi of the leaf. He stays under our protection, end of discussion. With all due respect, Lady Hokage, Danzo continued smoothly, we must consider the greater good of, I've seen the greater good, you consider, Danzo, Tsunade cut him off coldly. And I find it lacking. Tension crackled between them until Naruto stepped forward. I understand your concerns, he said, addressing the entire council. This power puts Konoha in a difficult position. But I promise you this, I will use the eyes to protect, not endanger. Any god that threatens this village will answer to me. His words carried a weight they hadn't before, an authority born of his new power. Several council members straightened in their seats, reassessing him. And what of Ragnarok? Hayashi Hyuga asked. This tournament Brunhil speaks of, will it involve Konoha as well? Ragnarok will involve all of humanity, Brunhil replied. 13 battles between gods and human champions. If humanity wins the majority, your species earns the right to continue existing without divine interference. And if we lose? Shikaku asked the question everyone was thinking. Brunhild's expression darkened. Extinction. Or subjugation so complete it might as well be extinction. Silence fell over the chamber as the implications sank in. How can we prepare? Tsunade finally asked. Train your strongest warriors, Brunhild advised. Though ultimately, only those chosen as champions will fight in the actual tournament. The judge traditionally observes rather than participates, but... She glanced at Naruto. These are unusual times. When does this tournament begin? Hayashi pressed. Soon. The signs are aligning. I would estimate within the year. More murmurs rippled through the council. A year to prepare for a cosmic tournament that would decide humanity's fate seemed woefully inadequate. For now, Tsunade declared, bringing the meeting back to order, we fortify the village and prepare for further divine visitations. Naruto continues his training with Brunhild. ANBU will establish protocols for dealing with supernatural incursions. She fixed Danzo with a hard stare. And we stand united. Anyone undermining that unity will answer directly to me. The implied threat was clear, and Danzo merely inclined his head in acknowledgement, though his single visible eye remained calculating. Council dismissed, Tsunade announced. Naruto, Brunhild, stay behind. As the chamber emptied, Tsunade led them to a smaller adjoining room where Kakashi, Shizune, and Jiraiya waited. Naruto brightened at the sight of his old mentor. Pervy sage. When did you get back? Jiraiya grinned, clasping Naruto's shoulder. This morning. Heard my student's gone and gotten himself cosmic eyes. Couldn't miss that. His gaze shifted to Brunhild, and his grin widened. And who might this vision of divine beauty be? Don't even start, Tsunade warned him. She's a Valkyrie, not one of your research subjects. Brunhild merely looked amused. I've been propositioned by gods and heroes for millennia, Lady Tsunade. Your companion's attention is hardly concerning. See? She gets it. Jiraiya winked before turning serious. But really, kid, these eyes of the Lord, they're no joke. I've found references to them in some of the oldest texts in my travels. They only appear in times of cosmic crisis. Which is exactly what we're facing, Brunhild confirmed. The gods have grown distant from humanity, viewing you as either playthings or pests. Zeus particularly has advocated for humanity's replacement with a more worthy species. And Ragnarok is their compromise? Kakashi asked. Fighting matches to decide our fate? Better than immediate extinction, Brunhild shrugged. At least this way, humanity has a chance. Some chance, Jiraiya muttered. Fighting literal gods. With the right champions, the odds are better than you might think, Brunhild insisted. Human potential is remarkable, especially in this world, where chakra has evolved your capabilities beyond most human realms. Tsunade leaned against the wall, arms crossed. So what's our next move? Continue Naruto's training, Brunhil said. The judge must be ready when Ragnarok begins. And prepare your village for more visitors. Word spreads quickly through the divine realms. As if to punctuate her statement, a sudden chill swept through the room. Frost formed on the windows despite the warm evening, and their breath began to fog in the air. Speaking of visitors, Brunhild murmured, her hand moving to her spear. We have company. The temperature plummeted further. Ice crystals formed on the floor in an expanding circle, spreading from a central point where the air began to shimmer and distort. Jotun magic, Brunhild explained tensely. Frost giants. A tall figure materialized in the center of the ice pattern, male, handsome in a sharp, dangerous way, with pale blue skin and eyes like Arctic ice. He wore elegant green and gold armor, and a smile that promised mischief at best, malice at worst. Well, well, he drawled, surveying the room. What a charming little gathering. Loki, Brunhild said flatly. To what do we owe the displeasure? The frost giant's smile widened. Is that any way to greet your uncle, little Valkyrie? His gaze shifted to Naruto. So this is the new judge. Hardly impressive. Naruto felt the eyes stirring, responding to the divine presence. He activated them, studying the newcomer. Beyond Loki's beautiful appearance, he saw something chaotic and fluid, a being who delighted in disruption for its own sake. Not evil, exactly, but dangerous, like a forest fire that burns without malice but destroys nonetheless. I can see you, Naruto said quietly. The real you. Loki's smile faltered slightly. Ah. The eyes are fully awakened then. He recovered quickly, clapping his hands together. Splendid. That will make this so much more interesting. Make what more interesting? Tsunade demanded. Why are you here? Why, to deliver an invitation, of course. Loki produced an ornate scroll from thin air. The gods are gathering to discuss the upcoming Ragnarok. As the current judge, young Naruto's presence is, requested. The way he said, requested, made it clear this was no optional social call. When and where? Brunhild asked, suspicious. Asgard. 3 days hence. Loki smiled coldly. And don't worry, dear niece. You're invited too. As are. He gestured vaguely at the humans, a reasonable number of his little mortal friends. Bodyguards, emotional support, whatever you wish to call them. And if I refuse? Naruto asked. Loki shrugged elegantly. The meeting will proceed without you, decisions will be made about the tournament parameters, and you'll have no say in the matter. His smile turned predatory. Also, several of the less patient deities have expressed interest in testing the new judge's capabilities personally. I imagine they'd take your absence as an excuse to conduct those tests, here. The threat to Konoha was thinly veiled. He'll be there, Brunhild said before Naruto could respond. With appropriate accompaniment. Wonderful. Loki beamed, tossing the scroll to Naruto who caught it reflexively. The details are all there. Do dress appropriately, the divine realms can be so judgmental about appearance. He began to fade, ice crystals swirling around his form. Oh, and Naruto. Do work on your control. Those eyes of yours are practically leaking divine energy. Most unseemly. With a final smirk, he vanished. The temperature in the room gradually returned to normal, ice melting away without leaving moisture behind. Naruto looked down at the scroll in his hands. The parchment felt strange, not quite physical, vibrating slightly against his skin. Is this for real? He asked Brunhild. A divine council meeting? She nodded grimly. And a dangerous one. Loki's involvement suggests the Aesir pantheon is taking a particular interest in you. Is that good or bad? Complicated. Odin clearly finds you intriguing, which offers some protection. But Loki. She frowned. He plays his own games, for his own reasons. Can we decline? Tsunade asked. Not without risking divine retribution against Konoha, Brunhil said. And Loki wasn't lying about the other deities. Many would love an excuse to test Naruto's abilities. Then we accept, Jiraiya decided. But not without preparation. 3 days isn't much time, but it's better than nothing. I'll go with Naruto, Kakashi volunteered. As will I, Sasuke said from the doorway, having silently returned. My Rinnegan may prove useful in divine realms. Tsunade nodded. Sakura as well. Her medical skills could be critical. A small, capable team, Brunhilde agreed. Wise choice. Naruto unrolled the scroll, studying the elegant script that somehow shifted between languages yet remained perfectly understandable. It says we're to gather at the Shrine of Judgment where I got these eyes, he reported. At midnight 3 days from now. Back to where it all began, Jiraiya mused. Fitting. Naruto re-rolled the scroll, determination setting in. Then we have 3 days to prepare. Let's make them count. The next 2 days passed in a blur of intense training. Brunhilde pushed Naruto relentlessly, helping him refine his control over the eyes while teaching him about the various pantheons and their complex politics. The Greek and Norse gods will dominate the meeting, she explained as they sparred across the training field. They're the primary advocates for Ragnarok, though for different reasons. Zeus fears humanity's potential, Odin respects it but believes you need to prove yourselves worthy. Her spear transformed mid-strike into a sword, forcing Naruto to adapt his defense. The pendant at his throat glowed as he channeled power through his kunai, meeting her blade with enhanced metal that didn't shatter under divine force. What about the others, he asked, leaping back to create distance. The Hindu gods, or the ones from other pantheons? Most take a more balanced view. Some, like the Hindu Trimurti, see themselves as part of natural cosmic cycles rather than rulers over humanity. Brunhilde shifted her sword back to a spear, extending its reach. Others, like the Egyptian or Japanese pantheons, have more symbiotic relationships with humans. Naruto created shadow clones, surrounding Brunhilde from all angles. Each clone's eyes glowed with the same divine light as his own. So not all gods want us gone, he asked as the clones attacked in coordinated sequence. Brunhilde spun her spear in a circle, dispelling 3 clones before answering. Many are indifferent. Some actively favor humanity's continuation. A few, like Prometheus among the Titans, have even suffered for supporting humans. Their training continued like this, physical combat intertwined with cosmic education. Meanwhile, Kakashi, Sasuke, and Sakura prepared in their own ways. Kakashi consulted with Jiraiya on protective seals that might function in divine realms. Sasuke meditated with his Jujutsu active, pushing the limits of what his eyes could perceive. Sakura worked with Tsunade to develop medical techniques that might affect divine physiology. By the evening of the 3rd day, they gathered at Konoha's gates, ready to depart for the Shrine of Judgment. Tsunade saw them off with uncharacteristic solemnity. Remember, she told them, you represent not just Konoha but all of humanity. Be diplomatic where possible, but stand your ground where necessary. We will, Naruto promised. And try not to start a divine war, she added with a wry smile. We've had enough apocalypses for 1 decade. Jiraiya handed Naruto a small, sealed paper tag. A little insurance policy. If things go sideways, channel chakra into this. It should create a pathway back to our realm, no matter where you are. Thanks, pervy sage. Naruto tucked the tag into his pocket. One more thing, Tsunade said, her expression turning serious. Trust your instincts, Naruto. Those eyes chose you for a reason. He nodded, touching the pendant at his throat. I know. With final farewells exchanged, the five of them, Naruto, Brunhil, Kakashi, Sasuke, and Sakura, set out toward the land of demons. They traveled swiftly through the night, the ninjas adapting to Brunhild's inexhaustible pace. "She doesn't even seem tired," Sakura murmured to Naruto as they leapt through the forest canopy. "Divine stamina," he replied with a shrug. "Pretty handy." "I can hear you both," Brunhild called back without turning. "And yes, Valkyries don't tire as mortals do. One of many advantages when choosing the slain on battlefields that span days." They reached the Shrine of Judgment shortly before midnight. The ruins looked different now, the stones cleaned of moss and dirt, the symbols etched into them glowing with soft blue light. The circular dais at the center had been restored, no longer cracked and broken. "Someone's been redecorating," Kakashi observed, one hand near his weapons pouch. "The shrine responds to the judge's awakening," Brunhild explained. "It's returning to its original state." Naruto approached the dais cautiously, the pendant at his throat humming more insistently as he neared it. The symbols carved into the stone matched those that appeared around his irises when he activated the eyes. "Now what?" he asked, checking the time. "It's almost midnight." "Now we wait," Brunhild replied, standing beside him. "When the appointed hour comes, the gateway will open." Sasuke circled the perimeter, Sharingan and Rinnegan active. "There's energy building. I can see it flowing through the symbols." Sakura stayed close to Naruto, medical pouch ready. "Remember what Lady Tsunade said about your diplomatic approach. Be respectful but firm," Naruto recited. "Don't make promises I can't keep. Don't let them bait me into losing my temper." "Exactly," she nodded. "These are gods, Naruto. They've had millennia to practice manipulation. Some for longer than others," Brunhild added dryly. As midnight approached, the symbols on the stones grew brighter. The air in the clearing became heavy, charged with energy that made their skin tingle. Naruto activated the eyes, watching as reality itself seemed to thin around the dais. "It's starting," he said quietly. The moment midnight struck, a column of light erupted from the center of the dais, shooting upward into the sky. The light expanded outward, forming a swirling portal of golden energy. Within its depths, they could see glimpses of another realm, towering structures of impossible architecture, skies filled with multiple suns. "Asgard calls," Brunhild said, stepping toward the portal. "Follow closely. Stay together. The paths between realms can be disorienting." She stepped into the light and vanished. Naruto went next, with his three friends following immediately behind. The sensation was unlike anything he'd experienced, like being unmade and remade in the space of a heartbeat, his consciousness stretching across vast distances before snapping back into his body. When the light faded, they stood in a massive hall that seemed built from living metal and wood. Columns the size of Konoha's tallest building supported a ceiling so high it disappeared into mist. All around them, beings of various sizes and appearances watched their arrival with expressions ranging from curiosity to open hostility. "Welcome to Asgard," Brunhild said quietly. "Home of the Aesir, and host of today's Divine Council." Naruto took a deep breath, feeling the eyes responding to the overwhelming divine presence surrounding them. The pendant helped stabilize his power, preventing it from flaring defensively. "So many gods," Sakura whispered, eyes wide as she took in the assembled deities. "Not all gods," Brunhild corrected. "Some are lesser divine beings, some representatives from various pantheons. But yes, this is the largest gathering of divine power you're likely to encounter outside of Ragnarok itself." A figure approached them, tall and regal, with a flowing white beard and a single piercing eye. Odin, looking exactly as he had in Konoha but somehow more substantial here in his home realm. "Judge Uzumaki," he greeted with a slight nod. "You honor Asgard with your presence." "Thank you for the invitation," Naruto replied carefully, remembering his diplomatic training. "Though I understand it wasn't exactly optional." Odin's lips twitched in what might have been amusement. Directness. Good. You'll need that today. His gaze swept over the others. Your companions are welcome, though they must remain in the outer circle during formal proceedings. Brunhil stepped forward. Father. Daughter. Odin's expression softened slightly. You've chosen an interesting champion this time. The eyes chose him, she replied. I merely recognized their wisdom. Indeed. Odin gestured toward the center of the hall where a massive table shaped like a perfect circle stood. The council gathers. Come. As they followed the All-Father through the crowd, Naruto felt countless eyes upon him, some curious, others calculating, a few openly hostile. His friends stayed close, forming a protective formation around him despite being in a realm where their powers might be severely outmatched. At the circular table, thrones of various designs awaited the highest gods. Naruto counted 13 seats, each distinct in style and energy. Odin took one made of intricately carved wood and bone. Across from him sat a powerfully built man with a thundercloud beard and eyes like lightning, unmistakably Zeus, king of the Greek pantheon. So this is the new judge, Zeus rumbled, his voice like distant thunder. Younger than the last few. More reckless, by all accounts. I prefer, determined, Naruto replied evenly. Zeus laughed, the sound shaking the very air. Spirited too. Excellent. Judges who cower make for poor entertainment. My son means no disrespect, said a woman seated beside Zeus. Her beauty was otherworldly, perfect in a way that almost hurt to look at. I am Hera, Queen of Olympus. We welcome you to this council, Judge Uzumaki. Other introductions followed as gods took their seats. Amaterasu of the Japanese pantheon, radiant as the sun itself. Osiris of Egypt, his skin green-tinged and wrapped in bandages like a partially mummified corpse. The Hindu triumvirate Naruto had already met, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva sharing a single ornate seat. Others from pantheons he didn't recognize, gods of cultures long forgotten by modern humans. When all were seated, only one throne remained empty, a seat of pure obsidian opposite where Naruto stood. Hades sends his regrets, Zeus announced with obvious displeasure. My brother claims the affairs of the dead take precedence over our council. How convenient, muttered a red-haired goddess Naruto had been introduced to as Freya. Odin stood, silencing the murmurs with his presence alone. We gather today for two purposes. First, to formally recognize the awakening of a new judge in the mortal realm. Second, to discuss the parameters of the approaching Ragnarok. He gestured to Naruto. Naruto Uzumaki of Konohagakure has inherited the eyes of the Lord. As tradition demands, he stands before this council to be acknowledged. Zeus leaned forward, studying Naruto with eyes that literally crackled with electricity. Show us the eyes, boy. Let us see what has the divine realm so agitated. Naruto hesitated only briefly before activating his power. The symbols manifested around his irises, glowing with golden light. The pendant at his throat resonated in harmony, helping him control the surge of energy. The assembled gods reacted variously, some leaning forward in interest, others back in caution. Zeus's expression darkened slightly, while Odin merely nodded as if confirming something he already knew. The eyes have fully awakened, Odin announced. Naruto Uzumaki stands recognized as judge of divine worth. Let it be recorded in the cosmic ledger. A small, previously unnoticed figure scribbled in a massive book at the edge of the table. Naruto realized with surprise that it was Ganesha, the elephant-headed god now serving as some kind of divine secretary. Recognition is one matter, Zeus said, his voice carrying an undercurrent of danger. Function is another. What role will this judge play in the coming Ragnarok? Traditionally, the judge observes but does not participate. Traditions can evolve, Brunhil interjected from where she stood behind Naruto. Especially when the divine have shown such creative interpretations of the rules themselves. Zeus's eyes narrowed at her. Mind your place, Valkyrie. You are here by courtesy, not right. She is my daughter, Odin said mildly, and has earned her place in these proceedings through millennia of faithful service. The tension between the two patriarchs was palpable. Naruto could see, with his enhanced perception, currents of power flowing between them, neither willing to back down, both measuring the other's resolve. Perhaps, Vishnu suggested from the Hindu seat, his voice melodious and calming, we should hear from the judge himself. What role do you envision taking in Ragnarok, Naruto Uzumaki? All eyes turned to him. Naruto felt the weight of their attention, the expectation. He took a deep breath, centering himself as Brunhil had taught him. My role is to judge divine worth, he said clearly. To see the truth behind the power. In Ragnarok, I will observe the contests fairly, ensuring neither side breaks the cosmic rules. He paused, meeting Zeus's gaze directly. And if necessary, I will intervene when those rules are broken. Zeus's beard crackled with lightning. You threaten to judge the king of Olympus? I don't threaten to judge anyone, Naruto replied steadily. I simply state my purpose. The eyes see truth, regardless of title or power. A tense silence followed his words. Then, unexpectedly, Osiris chuckled, the sound like dry leaves rustling. Well said, young judge. Well said indeed. The Egyptian god's bandaged face somehow conveyed amusement. Zeus, surely you don't fear judgment if you intend to abide by the rules you yourself helped create. The thunderer glowered but didn't respond directly. Instead, he changed tactics. Let us discuss the parameters of Ragnarok then. The location of the tournament grounds must be decided. Traditionally, a neutral realm is chosen, Amaterasu said, her voice like warm sunshine. One accessible to both divine and human participants. I propose the ancient arena of Valhalla, Odin suggested. It has hosted divine contests before. Too closely aligned with the Norse, Zeus objected immediately. I suggest Mount Olympus, which is even more biased, Freya interrupted with an elegant snort. The gods began debating locations, their discussion growing heated. Naruto watched silently, using the eyes to observe the currents of alliance and opposition flowing between the deities. It was clear that old rivalries and alliances were at play, politics on a cosmic scale. Throughout the debate, he noticed Loki lounging against a column at the edge of the hall, watching the proceedings with obvious amusement. The trickster caught Naruto's eye and winked, as if sharing a private joke. Eventually, Shiva raised a hand, silencing the bickering gods. There is an obvious solution. The tournament should be held in a realm created specifically for the purpose, one that belongs to neither gods nor humans. And who would create such a realm? Zeus demanded. Who could be trusted with such power? All eyes slowly turned to Naruto. The judge, Odin said thoughtfully. With the eyes of the Lord, he could forge a realm between worlds, neutral ground for the contests. Impossible. Zeus protested. No mortal has the power to create a realm. No ordinary mortal, perhaps, Vishnu countered. But one wielding the eyes, with the divine essence of a tailed beast within him. Such a one might accomplish it. Naruto blinked in surprise. You want me to create a whole realm? I don't even know if that's possible. It is, Brunhil said quietly. With proper guidance, the eyes can reshape reality itself. Previous judges have done similar feats, though not often. Naruto felt the pendant grow warm against his skin, as if confirming her words. The power within him stirred, responding to the very idea of creation. I might be able to, he admitted. But I'd need time to learn how. And guarantees that this realm would remain neutral, no divine tampering. A reasonable request, Amaterasu supported. The judge creates the battlefield, and all pantheons swear to respect its neutrality. Zeus looked displeased but found himself increasingly isolated as other gods nodded in agreement with the proposal. Finally, he relented with poor grace. Very well. The mortal creates the arena, if he can. We shall see. Then it is decided, Odin declared. Judge Uzumaki will forge the Ragnarok arena. The tournament will commence when the realm is complete and the human champions have been selected. Speaking of champions, Zeus said, his mood shifting to something more calculating, how do we ensure they are worthy opponents? The last Ragnarok was disappointingly one-sided. Because you chose to fight children and elders, Brunhil muttered just loudly enough to be heard. Zeus shot her a dangerous look. The selection was random, as agreed. Random from a pool you helped define, she countered. Enough, Odin interrupted. This time, each pantheon will select their divine representative. The Valkyries will select humanity's champions. And the judge will oversee all selections to ensure fairness. This compromise seemed to satisfy most parties, though Zeus still looked disgruntled. The meeting continued, discussing smaller details of the tournament, rules of engagement, consequences of victory or defeat. Allowable weapons and techniques. Throughout the proceedings, Naruto found himself increasingly able to follow the complex currents of divine politics. The eyes helped him see beyond words to intentions, beyond posturing to true positions. It was exhausting but educational. Finally, as the council neared its conclusion, Loki sauntered forward from his observation post. One small matter remains unaddressed, he said with a smile that promised trouble. The judge's worthiness. The hall fell silent. Naruto felt his friends tensing behind him. Explain yourself, Loki, Odin commanded. Gladly, All-Father. Loki spread his hands innocently. We've accepted this young mortal as judge based solely on the fact that he wields the eyes. But traditionally, new judges must prove themselves, demonstrate they can handle not just the power but the responsibility. Naruto frowned. What exactly are you suggesting? A test, Loki replied, his smile widening. A simple challenge to prove your discernment and judgment. Nothing too taxing. This is unnecessary, Brunhil objected immediately. The eyes themselves choose worthy bearers. Perhaps, Zeus said, warming to Loki's suggestion. But confirmation would ease many minds. A test seems reasonable. Naruto could see where this was heading, another divine attempt to undermine or control him. But refusing would only reinforce suspicions and give his opponents ammunition. What kind of test? He asked cautiously. Loki's eyes gleamed with mischief. 3 divine beings will appear before you. 2 will speak truth about themselves, 1 will speak only lies. Using the eyes, you must determine which is the deceiver. That seems straightforward enough, Naruto said, suspicious of the apparent simplicity. With one complication, Loki added. You must render judgment on the liar, determine whether their deception merits divine punishment or merely a reprimand. And there was the trap. They wanted to see how he would use his power to judge, to get a measure of his mercy or ruthlessness. And who chooses these 3 divine beings? Brunhild asked, clearly seeing the same problem. Why, I'll volunteer as one, Loki offered magnanimously. Zeus and Odin can each select another. Perfectly balanced, wouldn't you say? Zeus smiled coldly. I accept these terms. As do I, Odin agreed, his single eye revealing nothing of his thoughts. Naruto glanced at Brunhild, who gave a nearly imperceptible nod. This was a test he couldn't avoid. I accept as well, he said firmly. But I have one condition. My judgment, whatever it may be, will be respected by this council. No reprisals against me or those I care about, regardless of the outcome. The divine representatives exchanged glances, then nodded their assent. The agreement felt binding in a way that transcended normal promises, a cosmic contract of sorts. Excellent. Loki clapped his hands together. Let us proceed immediately. Time is a precious commodity, even for immortals. Zeus summoned a female deity with russet hair and sharp, fox-like features. 8, goddess of mischief and ruin, he introduced her. My selection for the test. Odin beckoned to a warrior-like figure in gleaming armor. Tyr, god of war and justice. My choice. The three divine beings, Loki, 8, and Tyr, lined up before Naruto. Each radiated power in different ways, Loki cold and fluid, 8 chaotic and sharp, Tyr steady and resolute. The rules are simple, Loki explained, clearly enjoying himself. Each of us will make 3 statements about ourselves. Use your eyes to discern which of us speaks only falsehoods. Then render your judgment. Naruto nodded, activating the eyes fully. The symbols glowed around his irises as he focused on the 3 deities before him. Tyr went first, his voice strong and clear, I am the god of honorable combat and just warfare. I sacrificed my hand to bind the wolf Fenrir. I have never broken a sworn oath. Naruto studied him carefully, seeing multiple layers of the war god's existence. There was pain there, the phantom sensation of a missing hand, and a core of absolute, unbending integrity. 8 spoke next, her voice melodious yet unsettling, I am the goddess who drives mortals and gods alike to rash actions they later regret. Zeus once cast me from Olympus in a fit of rage. I find particular delight in the downfall of the arrogant. Her essence was harder to read, slippery and changeable, like trying to grasp smoke. But Naruto could see genuine pleasure in chaos, a nature that fed on poor decisions and their consequences. Finally, Loki stepped forward with a theatrical bow, I am the god of mischief and beneficial change. I once gave birth to an 8-legged horse named Sleipnir. Everything I do for the greater good of the 9 realms. Loki's essence was perhaps the most complex, layers upon layers of contradictions and half-truths. There was genuine delight in chaos, yes, but also a deeper purpose that even Loki himself seemed ambivalent about. Naruto focused harder, letting the eyes pierce through surface impressions to the core truths beneath. The pendant at his throat grew warm, helping him channel his power with precision. Finally, he spoke, 8 speaks truth. Tyr speaks truth. He turned to Loki with a slight smile. But you, Loki, speak with forked tongue. Your first statement is partially true, you are indeed the god of mischief, but beneficial change is subjective at best. Your second statement is true, strange as it seems. But your third statement. Naruto shook his head. That's the complete lie. You don't act for the greater good of the realms. You act for your own amusement and agenda, whatever that may be. Loki's smile widened, showing too many teeth. Very good, young judge. But now comes the harder part. Having identified me as the deceiver, what judgment do you render? Does my deception merit divine punishment? The hall fell silent as all waited for Naruto's decision. This, he realized, was the true test, not just identifying the liar but determining how to respond. They wanted to see if he would be harsh or lenient, if he would use his power to punish or merely to correct. Naruto took a deep breath, studying Loki more deeply with the eyes. He saw the trickster's complex nature, the chaos that was both destructive and creative, the lies that sometimes revealed deeper truths than honesty could. My judgment is this, Naruto announced. Loki's deception was expected, it's his nature to deceive, just as it's fire's nature to burn. Punishing him for being what he is would be unjust. He paused, making eye contact with the trickster. But using that nature to manipulate this council and test me? That deserves acknowledgement. Naruto extended his hand toward Loki, channeling power through the eyes. Golden light surrounded the trickster god, who looked suddenly uncertain for the first time. For 3 days, Naruto declared, you will speak only absolute truth, Loki Laufeyson. No half-truths, no misleading statements, no lies by omission. Just pure, unvarnished honesty. Gasps and murmurs spread through the hall. Loki's eyes widened in what might have been horror. You can't, the trickster began, then stopped abruptly as the light sank into his skin. He tried again, this is the most creative and appropriate punishment anyone has ever devised for me, and I am simultaneously impressed and utterly terrified by the implications." Loki clapped a hand over his mouth, looking genuinely alarmed. Around the hall, several gods began to laugh. "Well judged," Odin said, amusement clear in his voice. "Temporary, proportionate, and perfectly tailored to the offense." Even Zeus looked grudgingly impressed. "The boy shows wisdom beyond his years." Loki shot Naruto a look that mingled respect with promised retribution. "I will remember this," he said, then added unwillingly, "and probably respect you more for it once my irritation fades." Naruto couldn't help but smile. "I'll look forward to that." With the test concluded, the council moved to wrap up its business. Final agreements were made regarding Ragnarok's timeline. Naruto would have 3 months to create the tournament realm and master his powers. The selection of champions would begin immediately, with both sides gathering their strongest representatives. As the meeting adjourned, various gods approached Naruto individually. Some offered advice, others warnings, a few thinly veiled threats disguised as congratulations. Through it all, his friends remained close, observing and learning as much as they could about these beings who would determine humanity's fate. Finally, Brunhil signaled it was time to depart. The pathway back to the mortal realm had been prepared, a swirling portal of light similar to the one that had brought them to Asgard. "You've made an impression," she told Naruto quietly as they prepared to leave. "Some good, some concerning, but all significant. The divine realms will be watching you closely now." "Let them watch," Naruto replied with determination. "I'll judge fairly, but I won't let them intimidate me." As they stepped toward the portal, Loki approached one last time. "A word of honest advice, Judge Uzumaki," he said, the compulsion to truth still evident in his pained expression. "Not all in the divine realm support Ragnarok. Some of us remember when gods and humans work together. Some of us even prefer it that way." He glanced at Zeus, lowering his voice further. "Watch the king of Olympus carefully. He fears what humans might become more than any other deity." With that cryptic warning, Loki stepped back, offering a mocking bow as Naruto and his companions entered the portal. The journey back felt shorter, less disorienting now that they'd experienced it once before. They emerged at the Shrine of Judgment in the pre-dawn light, the ancient stones still glowing softly with power. For a moment, they stood in silence, processing everything they had witnessed. "Well," Kakashi said finally, his visible eye crinkling in a smile, "that was certainly more interesting than most diplomatic missions I've been on." Sakura shook her head in amazement. "Gods. Actual gods arguing like the village council." "Power doesn't grant wisdom," Sasuke observed quietly. "Some things are universal." Naruto touched the pendant at his throat, feeling the power of the eyes humming within him. A tremendous responsibility had been placed on his shoulders, not just judging divine worth but now creating an entire realm for Ragnarok. "Can I really do this?" he asked Brunhild. "Create a realm?" "Yes, with proper training," she replied confidently. "But the greater question is whether you can navigate the politics of Ragnarok while maintaining your integrity. That's the real challenge." "I've faced worse odds," Naruto said, though part of him wondered if that was true. As they began their journey back to Konoha, the weight of what lay ahead settled over Naruto. 3 months to master powers he barely understood. 3 months to create a battleground for humanity's fate. 3 months to prepare for a tournament that would decide whether his species deserved to continue existing. The eyes of the Lord had chosen him for this role. Now he had to prove they had chosen wisely. Word of the Divine Council meeting spread quickly through Konoha upon their return. Tsunade called another session with the village leadership to brief them on developments, while rumors circulated among the general population, everything from exaggerated accounts of Naruto battling Zeus to claims that the gods had demanded human sacrifices. Naruto found himself increasingly the center of attention, whispers and stares following him wherever he went. Some viewed him with newfound awe, others with suspicion or fear. The pressure might have overwhelmed him if not for his friend's steadfast support. One evening, a week after their return, He sat at Ichiraku Ramen with Shikamaru and Choji, attempting a moment of normalcy amid cosmic chaos. So you really have to make an entire dimension? Choji asked between bites of his third bowl. How does that even work? I'm still figuring that out, Naruto admitted, stirring his own ramen thoughtfully. Brunhild's been teaching me the theory, but it's complicated. Shikamaru sighed. Troublesome doesn't begin to cover it. Creating realms, judging gods, what's next, rewriting the laws of physics. Don't give him ideas, Choji laughed. The easy banter helped, reminding Naruto of who he was beyond his new role as judge. These moments of connection with his friends became increasingly precious as his training intensified. And intense it was. Each day, Brunhild pushed him further, helping him explore aspects of the eyes he hadn't even considered. He learned to perceive the flow of divine energy through reality, to see the connections between realms, to understand how the fabric of existence could be manipulated and reshaped. The key, she explained during one particularly grueling session, is intent. The eyes respond to your will, your vision. To create a realm, you must first conceive it perfectly in your mind. They sat cross-legged at the center of the training ground, eyes closed in meditation. The pendant glowed softly against Naruto's chest, helping him channel and control his power. Imagine the arena, Brunhild continued. Not just its physical form, but its fundamental laws. What rules will govern this space? What balance of elements? Will chakra function differently there? Will divine powers be limited or enhanced? Naruto concentrated, envisioning a realm that would be truly neutral, a perfect battleground where neither gods nor humans would have inherent advantage. A place where judgment could be rendered fairly, where the true worth of both sides could be tested. The pendant grew warmer as his vision clarified. Around them, the air began to shimmer slightly, reality thinning as his power reached toward creation. Careful, Brunhild cautioned. We're not ready for actual manifestation yet. Just hold the concept in your mind. Naruto pulled back, containing his power but maintaining the mental image. It was exhausting work, requiring a level of concentration beyond even sage training. When they finally ended the session, he collapsed onto his back, staring up at the sky. This is harder than anything I've ever done. Creation always is, Brunhild replied, her voice uncharacteristically gentle. It requires not just power but perfect clarity of purpose. The gods themselves find it challenging, which is why many simply reshape existing realms rather than creating new ones. Naruto turned his head to look at her. Why me? The eyes could have chosen anyone. Why a knucklehead ninja from Konoha? Brunhild smiled slightly. The eyes see worthiness that transcends skill or intelligence. They see heart. She hesitated. Then added more quietly, they see the same things I saw when I first observed you. The personal admission surprised him. You were watching me before the eyes awakened. I watch many potential champions, she said, looking away. Those with the potential to stand against divinity. Your battle with pain, it caught my attention. Because I won. Because of how you won. Not just with power, but with understanding. With forgiveness. Her expression turned distant. Such qualities are rare, even among the greatest heroes. Before Naruto could respond to this unexpected insight, a familiar presence approached the training ground. Sasuke emerged from the tree line, his expression serious as always. Naruto, he said without preamble. We have a problem. Naruto sat up immediately. What kind of problem? Divine visitors. But not like the ones before. Sasuke's mismatched eyes narrowed slightly. These ones didn't announce themselves. They're watching from the shadows. Brunhild stood swiftly, hand moving to her spear. Where? I detected them at the village boundaries. Traces of energy unlike anything native to our world. Sasuke looked grim. They're trying to be stealthy. That suggests intentions beyond mere observation. Naruto got to his feet, fatigue forgotten. Let's check it out. They moved quickly through the village, avoiding attention as they headed toward the area Sasuke had indicated. Near the eastern wall, in a wooded area just outside the barrier seals, they paused. Here, Sasuke whispered. I sensed them in this vicinity. Naruto activated the eyes, scanning the area. At first, he saw nothing unusual. Then, as he focused deeper, he caught glimpses of something, distortions in reality, like heat waves on a summer day. 3 separate anomalies, moving with purpose through the trees. I see them, he murmured. They're cloaking themselves somehow. Can you identify them? Brunhil asked, her voice tense. Naruto concentrated harder, pushing his perception beyond the cloaking. They're strange. Not like the gods we've met before. More primal somehow. Older. Brunhild's expression darkened. Titans. Or something equivalent from another pantheon. Ancient powers predating the current divine order. Are they dangerous? Sasuke asked, hand moving to his sword. Extremely, she confirmed. Especially if they're trying to remain hidden. One of the distortions changed direction, moving closer to their position. Naruto made a quick decision. Let's confront them directly. Better than letting them sneak around. Agreed, Brunhil said. But carefully. If they are titans, they're unpredictable. Naruto created several shadow clones, sending them to flank the approaching distortion while the 3 of them moved to intercept it directly. As they closed in, he channeled power through the pendant, preparing for possible conflict. We know you're there, he called out firmly. Show yourself. The distortion halted. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a sound like glass cracking, the cloaking fell away to reveal a figure unlike any god they'd previously encountered. It was humanoid but massive, easily 12 feet tall, with skin that seemed composed of shifting darkness. Where a face should be, there was only a swirling vortex of stars and cosmic energy. 6 arms extended from its torso, each ending in hands with too many fingers. Judge, it said, its voice somehow everywhere and nowhere at once. We wondered when you would notice us. Who are you? Naruto demanded, the eyes blazing as he studied the entity. I am Erebus, the being replied. Primordial of darkness and shadow. Brunhil tensed beside him. A protogenoi, she whispered. One of the first beings. Even older than Titans. What do you want with Konoha? Sasuke asked, Sharingan and Rinnegan fixed on the ancient entity. Nothing from your village, Erebus replied. Our interest lies solely with the judge. The star field that served as its face seemed to focus more intently on Naruto. We observe. We assess. The awakening of the eyes is significant. You could have approached openly, Naruto pointed out. Why the secrecy? My siblings and I prefer to watch events unfold naturally, without the posturing that accompanies formal divine visitations. A sound like distant wind might have been laughter. Zeus and his kin make such spectacles of themselves. Your siblings? Brunhil asked sharply. Who else is here? As if in answer, the other 2 distortions dropped their concealment. One revealed a female figure composed of flowing water and light, her form constantly shifting between states of matter. The other appeared as an elderly man with skin like tree bark, roots visibly running beneath his surface. Hemera, primordial of day, the female entity introduced herself. And this is Pontus, primordial of the deep sea. The elder gods, Brunhil breathed, sounding genuinely awed for the first time since Naruto had met her. The powers from before creation. Not gods, Erebus corrected. We are different. More fundamental. Naruto studied them with the eyes, seeing truth in this statement. These beings weren't gods as he'd come to understand them, they were more like embodiments of cosmic forces, concepts given sentience and form. Why are you interested in me? He asked directly. Because you represent change, Hemera answered, her voice like sunlight breaking through clouds. The eyes have awakened in times of cosmic shift before, but never on the eve of Ragnarok. The timing is significant, Pontus added, his voice deep and bubbling like underwater currents. It suggests interference in the natural order. Interference by whom? Sasuke asked. The three primordials exchanged glances, or what passed for glances among beings whose faces weren't entirely faces. That remains unclear, Erebus finally said. But we have our suspicions. Entities with reason to disrupt the current divine hierarchy. Like titans wanting revenge against the Olympians, Brunhil suggested. Perhaps, Hemera acknowledged. Or older forces still, seeking to reshape reality to an earlier configuration. Naruto frowned, trying to process the implications. Are you saying someone manipulated events to make me become the judge? That this wasn't just chance? The eyes choose their bearer based on worthiness, Pontus said. That much is true. But the timing of your exposure to them, the circumstances that led you to that shrine. He spread hands that dripped seawater onto the forest floor. Coincidence seems unlikely. So what do you want from me? Naruto asked bluntly. Awareness, Erebus answered. Caution. The role of judge is dangerous enough without being a pawn in games beyond your understanding. I'm nobody's pawn, Naruto stated firmly. Never have been, never will be. The star field of Erebus's face swirled faster, possibly in amusement. Bold words from one so young. But wisdom often comes with recognizing the board upon which you play. We offer neither alliance nor opposition, Hemera added. Merely observation. And perhaps, when needed, clarity. The primordials rarely intervene directly in affairs of gods or mortals, Brunhil explained to Naruto and Sasuke. Their interest alone is significant. Indeed, Pontus agreed. We have watched countless civilizations rise and fall, pantheons ascend and diminish. But Ragnarok, this tournament may shift the fundamental balance between divinity and humanity. Such moments merit our attention. Naruto absorbed this, studying the ancient beings with the eyes. Despite their alien nature, he sensed no immediate hostility from them, curiosity, certainly, and perhaps concern, but not the arrogance or contempt he'd felt from some of the younger gods. Thank you for the warning, he said finally. But I need more than vague cautions. If you know something specific about who might be manipulating events, I'd appreciate hearing it. The primordials were silent for a moment. Then Erebus extended one of his too-many-fingered hands, offering what appeared to be a small black stone. Take this, he said. If you face a moment of true confusion, when all paths seem obscured, break it. I will hear and may offer clarity, once, and only once. Naruto accepted the stone cautiously. It felt cool against his skin, with an odd weight that seemed disproportionate to its size. Why help me at all? He asked. Balance, Hemera answered simply. The cosmic scales have tilted too far toward divine supremacy. A correction is due. Whether that correction favors humanity or merely establishes a new equilibrium remains to be seen, Pontus added. We have lingered too long, Erebus said. Others will notice our presence soon. We return to watching from afar. The three primordials began to fade, their forms becoming translucent. But before they vanished completely, Hemera spoke one last time. Judge Uzumaki, look closely at your Valkyrie companion and the role of the Valkyries in Ragnarok. Not all guides lead to expected destinations. With that cryptic statement, they disappeared, leaving no trace of their presence except the small black stone in Naruto's hand and a lingering sense of cosmic weight in the air. Naruto turned to Brunhil, questions forming on his lips, but the expression on her face stopped him. She looked troubled, almost vulnerable, an emotion he'd never seen from her before. What did she mean? He asked quietly. About looking closely at your role. Brunhild's jaw tightened. Primordials speak in riddles and half-truths. It means nothing specific. But the eyes showed Naruto otherwise. There was discomfort in her stance, a tension that spoke of secrets kept and truths withheld. Brunhil, he said more firmly. What aren't you telling me about Ragnarok? For a moment, it seemed she might maintain her denial. Then her shoulders dropped slightly, and she sighed. Not here, she said, looking around. Too exposed. We'll discuss it at the training ground. Sasuke's expression remained neutral, but Naruto could tell he was filing away every detail of the exchange for later analysis. I'll inform Kakashi about our visitors, he said. Join you afterward. They separated, Sasuke heading toward the Hokage Tower while Naruto and Brunhil returned to the secluded training ground. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the grass as they arrived, the area deserted as it often was these days, whether out of respect for their training or fear of divine attention, Naruto wasn't sure. Brunhilde paced for a moment, her usual confidence replaced by uncharacteristic something went wrong with this response, please try again. Continue the book with the next chapter. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.